Second game in this chapter will be a game between Magnus Carlsen and Anish Giri, recent game, played in Agashimov Memorial Shamkir 2019. And here the team will be just like in previous game, in game Yusupov Ivanchuk, the team will be open file. Magnus will sacrifice something in order to get open files. Let's see how will game go. It was English opening, c4, e5, knight c3, knight f6, knight c3, d5, g3, knight f3, knight c6, g3, d5, cd5, knight d5, bishop g2, and now move which became popular last couple of years. I mean, for many years in this position, I don't know, 40 years or more, knight b6 was, I would not say compulsory, but almost compulsory move, played in all the games. And nowadays, move bishop c5 has become a modern move, because, well, knight e5 is not exactly something to be afraid of. So bishop c5 is what they play nowadays a lot, castles, and d3, h6. Of course, Magnus is very well prepared in this kind of line, because he had this was also played, this particular variation was played in his World Championship match. Here knight takes d5. Position what we have is actually, if you look at the position, we have a dragon Sicilian colors reversed. And I would give somehow inside this colors reversed. It is always a tricky subject, because you may say here, well, white is playing Sicilian with an extra tempo, so it should be great. Yes, it is, but on the other hand, it is different kind of player psychology when you are playing with the black pieces and you are happy to equalize, or you are playing now with the white pieces, you have an extra tempo, but you are no longer actually happy to equalize. You would like to get an advantage. And this plays a different psychological role in the game. So here Magnus, he took on d5, queen d5, a3, a5. You simply have Sicilian color reversed. Bishop d2, queen e6, rook c1, queen e7, bishop c3, knight d4. Okay, now the question is how to play this position. Magnus decided to trade those two knights, which is kind of actually sensible, because this knight is a strong piece. And obviously he does not really want to trade it like this, because then I guess that he didn't like somehow this pawn standing on e2, though this particular structure would be typical dragon structure. Magnus plays move e3. Knight takes f3, queen takes f3, bishop d6. And you may wonder here, what can be plan of white? And wonder for a good reason, because let's say white wants to push d4. Okay, what's the big deal? Black will take, let's say c6. This bishop is hitting into nothing. Those pawns are very well placed. This bishop will get developed. Position looks completely equal. Black has zero worries. So you may wonder here, black might even be happy at some stage if more pieces are traded, having his 3 versus 2. Simply position is equal. So you may wonder what can be white's plan here? What can he potentially do? And Magnus finds a tremendous plan in this position. He plays move queen h5. I give it exclamation mark not because of queen h5, but because of plan which is to follow. c6, okay, very logical move, because black will like to have possibility to move this bishop. In order to move this bishop, you had to contain power of this bishop. And you contain it by pushing move c6. So what can be now which Magnus had in mind? He pushes move f4. Beautiful idea. Opening the files. Here the strongest move for black, or I don't know, at least I think this is the strongest move, was to try to keep the stuff intact and to play move f5. Because if black does not react, let's suppose that black makes a move. White will push himself f5. Sorry, here black actually needs to react in terms... no, he needs actually to react because I'm threatening to take a pawn. I was starting to think in academical terms that I want to push f5 and play for attack, but actually here it is not really academic. I want to eat this pawn, so black needs to react, so f5. I am stopping a pawn push, but I'm also keeping my pawn, and this was the best move. Giri took e takes f4, probably thinking that Magnus will take e take f4, which was, by the way, also possible, and to play for e file. And this was interesting, because this pawn is a weakness, but it is rather difficult to prove it weak. And this bishop is quite strong, and if you want to contain this bishop or play move f6, okay, then this bishop can become a strong piece and squares around the king. But Magnus has something completely different in mind. He here plays g takes f4, willing to sacrifice pawn on e3 in order to have two great open files for his rooks. A beautiful idea. And also intuitive sacrifice, because being as great as he is, Magnus could not calculate that after queen e3, rook h1, it is exactly a win. But he could see that there is going to be tremendous attack, because white is going to attack with all his pieces, queen, bishop, another bishop, rook, which is going to come to the file, and another rook ready to join the attack. Black king, on the other hand, has zero defenders, no defenders at all. It actually took quite some optimism from the Anish Giri to grab this pawn on e3, and this is a grave mistake. He should have played move king h7, with idea on move like e4 to play g6, and after queen f3, f5, and to, well, pray for the best, and actually having reasonable chances to keep his stuff together. I think that he should keep his stuff together, because there is no immediate breakthrough for white. At least I do not see it, and maybe Magnus wanted something else to do, maybe not to push e4, possible. I can, for example, move king, I don't need to push e4, but still, it is not obvious after g6, queen back, f5, this bishop looks great, this king looks very weak, all true, but break is needed, and even though there can be an attack, let's say rook can move, and then I can move the bishop, and I can double, it takes time to break black. Black would be having survival chances, though black's counterplay is limited and white would build up his initiative. Black would have some survival chances, but position is difficult. Actually, I think that king h1 is probably a better move than pushing e4. Just king h1 and try to focus on the files. Taking on e3 is rather optimistic. King h1, because now how to defend? Anish Giri played move rook d8. Move f6 is something which perhaps was better defense, but obviously for a computer, as a human, when you consider f6 and you see move bishop e4, you sort of give up on it, because king looks unbelievably weak. Black can try to defend playing, let's say, queen h3, queen g6, bishop g4, queen h7, if I try to cut the king from escape, because now I'm threatening mate in 2, check and bishop mate, there is move queen h5, stopping the threats. So let's say check, king h7, king f7, bishop g6, king e6, check, king d7, check, king c8, let's say bishop e4. It is not exactly mate, but it is difficult for a black, but it's not exactly mate. Such a kind of king journey is easy for computer, and we cannot blame Anish that he did not explore on this. He played move rook d8, but now simply the problem is that this poor king is attacked by too many pieces. Rook c1, queen c5, f5, bishop f8, and bishop e4. Now look, now really all white pieces are on a black king. Rook d5. Black would love to give an exchange, which nobody is going to take. Rook f3, keeping f5 and cleaning the way for another rook to join into slaughter on this king. b5, with a hope to either disturb the bishop or bring this rook to defense, because this king needs defenders. Rook g1, rook a7. You cannot hit my bishop, because, well, this will lead to a disaster. I mean, I want to take an f6, so it is going to lead to disaster. So this cannot be played. You cannot, defend due to various reasons, or even doubling by rook. It doesn't matter. So rook g1, rook a7, hoping to bring a defender. And I assume there should be various roads to Rome at this moment, but Magnus plays a very nice move. He plays move here, bishop f6, completely cutting any escape. Now the only thing which somehow he has a terrible threat, which is rook to g3 and win the game. The only thing which he has to pay attention, for example, white is in the case of, let's say, such a random move. Can white take on h7, on h6? No, he cannot, because in a game of chess you can always do something unbelievably stupid. If he would take, queen g1 will happen, and unfortunately this will bring a sleepless night. But obviously white can just double, and now simply take on g7 and deliver a checkmate. So this is what he can do. Anish Giri played move, and obviously there are various ways for white to build up mating threats here, as long as he doesn't blunder with queen h6. g6 happened in the game. Queen h3, elegant move, going away from this pin and keeping all the threats. Rook d6, queen h4, not only move. d4 was also kind of actually quite convincing, hitting on a queen, and then I can move the bishop and continue my attack. So queen h4. Well, here Anish, he has to give exchange back. He has to give exchange, otherwise he will get mated. Rook f6, queen f6, bishop e7. And, well, Magnus says, nobody says that a game must be won by a checkmate. Could be also won in a winning ending. Queen c6, bishop c6. Just a pawn up for a nothing. Just exchange up for nothing, and takes even a lesser player than Magnus to win this convincingly. fg, d4, a4, d5. Simply winning material advantage. b4, bishop e8, another nice move. Bishop g5. h4, opening route to kings after all. Bishop h4, rook g6, king h7, rook c6, bishop g4, rook f4, rook g7 played, and at the same time Anish resigned the game. I assume he was not in a mood to wait for a move like, let's say, bishop g6, rook g6, rook g6, king takes, check, bishop moves, rook b4, and so on. What I love in this game is so this kind of plan. Look at this. In this position where seemingly there is no active play for white, active plan, in only matter of 3 moves. Queen h5, c6, f4, ef4, gf4. White got open files and tremendous attacking potential, and later very nice execution. So actually a beautiful game and inspiring game by Magnus Carlsen.